Hi, everyone. We're back. We're in episode 2 of SiSTAR Weekly Chat. This chat is going to be an amazing chat because we have a guest. And from time to time, we're going to have guests on our show. This week, we have Hands of Melody with owner Melissa, and we'll be talking with her about what she does and how she does it in the second half of the show. But first, let's do what we always do, which is introduce ourselves. Then we'll talk about the tip of everybody's tongue, which is the news. So we have one little news segment, and then we'll pivot. So let's go. I'm Shayla. I am one of your co-hosts with SiSTAR Chat. And next, I guess, is Dajanna. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm SiSTAR Dajanna, an Afro-Colombiana from Cali, Colombia. I'm excited to be here as usual.
Hi everyone. My name is Tosin, and I'm from Nigeria, Yoruba Tutor. It's amazing to be here again.
Excellent, Miss Melissa.
Hello, I am Melissa Davis. I am a doula and owner of Hands of Melody Doula Services, and excited to be here with you ladies today.
Excellent. We love to celebrate. This is again. We are in Women's Month, the month of March, which is awesome. And so all of our guests are going to be women focused, sisterhood focused, motherhood focused, everything that to do with women. That's what we're doing all month in March for all of our broadcasts. Before we get into the doula experience and working with Hands of Melody, we do want to talk about the news. So we have a first news segment, which is the tip of our tongue. What's on the tip of our tongue? So I want us to, it is really sad. Unfortunately, we're going to talk about it. Last week, I think it was last Thursday or the ending part of last week, 4 Americans were kidnapped in Mexico. They were there for, they say cosmetic reasons, but they were just there. And 4 people got kidnapped. Interestingly enough, I had already knew in the head, I was like, you know what? Some of them aren't going to make it out alive. And as such, that's what happened. 2 survived, 2 unfortunately are with the ancestors. And I just want to briefly go around the horn. And I know you guys have seen that news and just what your thoughts are. My thought is this. First of all, my thoughts are and prayers are with the families of the victims. All 4 technically are victims, even if they're alive or with the ancestors. This happens in different countries, kidnapping. It happens. We don't know the reason behind this one. It's been said that they thought they were Haitian drug dealers, is what's kind of been out there. But we don't know, What I can say is that you have to be really, really hypersensitive to where you're going at in the world. One of the things that we're global sisters because, for example, everyone should know that I have a home in Zanzibar, right? Well, when I went to Zanzibar, I was already in contact with sisters there. Hi, Asha. Asha had an amazing YouTube, and she's married to a local Zanzibarian, and I completely connected with her before I got there, right? You should probably do the same thing when you visit these countries just to be on the safe side. Kidnappings happen every day in America, and they happen every day in other countries too. But it just kind of is sad when this is, put in like a bigger platform. And when we see, our sisters and brothers, die as a result of going to other countries. I'm going to open it up to our guest, Melissa, and then we'll talk to our other sisters who are always with us every week. But what do you think about, what happened with the 4 Americans?
First of all,
we'll go to Tosin, and then we'll go to Dajanna.
My first reaction because I didn't initially hear about the story until they were talking about the rescue, right? So then I went back and kind of listened to the story, looked at the clip you sent. First of all, I was amazed that the country put forth the effort for us, right? So I was like, wait, they because we're used to the rich college student that goes missing somewhere, and they never look like us, right? So the fact that they went looking for us and rescued us gave me like a warm feeling, like we weren't disregarded. I thought about the person because they now saying there were 5 people in the car, but somebody
really?
Yes, they couldn't get across the border because he did not have proper credentials to cross the border. So he was turned away and sent home. So for me, I'm going, you've got to in your mind be like, okay, God, like there's something you need me to do, because you kept me out of all of that, right? And then second of all, I just hope that if it was just what it was, like she was going over there for a tummy tuck or whatever, that this is not, people don't come in now and try to make it more. Oh, they were over there to do this. Over there. Right. I hope they just leave it the way it is and not try to make it more than it is, because I hate to say it, but because it's us, right? So when we just have a legitimate reason, cross the border, cosmetic surgery didn't kind of go right, come home. So that's where my mind is. I'm interested to hear more of the story.
Me too. And medical, I think they call it medical travel or medical vacation, and I forget the terminology for it, but it's a big thing, because medication and surgery in the United States, it's super high. It's super high. As everyone know, I had a surgery recently, last year. You probably know, I had bariatric surgery. Thankfully, I have insurance that covered a lot of it, but there was still like, I think I ended up spending another $7,000. Right? Who has that lying around? And so we have to go, to the Mexicos of the world and get, just as good surgery, if not better, right? For cheaper. But at the same time, we need to know that we gotta cross our T's and dot our I's when we're doing our research. And from my understanding, that area is a known bad area.
Yeah.
Right. That area is like known for drug cartel. They own the police, they own the government, they just pay them off. And would I personally feel comfortable going to a place like that? Not necessarily. I ain't gonna lie to you. But I'm also, I also travel to the continent, and people are like, oh, be careful with Tanzania. It's a level 3. I think Tanzania is considered a level 3. And you go there and you go to Zanzibar, you're like, what are you talking about? It's chill, right?
Yeah.
And I've gone back and forth, I think 2 or 3 times. I think, wait, 1, 2, 3? 3? Yeah, 3. Like 2020, 21, 22, 3 times. I've gone back and forth. No, wait, 2 times. I'm sorry. 2 times I've gone back and forth. Brain. I'm thinking about Ghana too. So, but anyway, I've gone back and forth, and I haven't had that experience, but it's only because I connect with people before I get to places.
Right. Yeah.
And I just feel like
it's a shame you can go across the border and pay what their equivalent, our equivalent to the dollar is completely different from theirs, but you can get these things. But one is sad, we have to cross the border, right? So we're supposed to be the wealthiest country in America. We're supposed to have the best everything. Why are we crossing borders to get what people have made here completely outreach? And we're talking about cosmetic surgery, but there are people that go over there for kidney transplants.
Yep.
Like life-changing surgeries and things like that. Why are we crossing the border from what's supposed to be the greatest country in the world?
They say, right.
Go somewhere and do something, because I think our government has taken that title, greatest country in the world, and thrown a price tag. Oh, you want to live in the greatest country? You gonna pay?
Here's the price tag for it.
And now we're risking our lives for that.
Absolutely. Tosin, what do you think about, the Mexico kidnapping? Kind of what's your take on it? Uh-oh, you're muted, baby. There you go.
Yeah, I read the news, and I was very sorry for the loss of a life, and it's happened in such a time where things of such shouldn't be happening in countries. So at first I actually thought these things happen in African countries mostly, but I don't know, it's just a universal thing. But the fact that the Americans went after, and they are even going to reward people that can look out for them, it's a very great deal, which really happens in other countries, looking for just 4 citizens, and they are putting placing certain amount of money, huge amount of money, for whoever can find them. It shows that they care about their citizen, and it's a very great one. That's encouraging. It's lovely. But I actually, some years back, I don't think this issue of kidnapping of a thing shouldn't be something that should be happening, because if you look at our society, we should be able to go, and people usually go to Mexico for tourism and everything, but suddenly different things are happening and the world is becoming dangerous day by day, and people are not even safe to go to neighboring countries, to go to borders to get things, to get the needed attention maybe. So it's becoming unsafe day by day, just worldwide.
And we
And I
certainly
hope
need,
nothing is done about that.
and I'll be honest with you. Sometimes, like, well, 2 years ago when I was looking to go to like Ghana, for example, and I was looking to go to Nigeria because I did like ancestry DNA, and I found out like literally our family is like 34, 35% Nigerian. Like seriously, it's a high percent. And I wanted to go to Nigeria just to see. But you know how many times I was told, don't go to Nigeria. It's really unsafe. It's really unsafe. And I subsequently didn't go to Nigeria because I thought it was unsafe. And what I don't want to happen, like Sister Melissa said, is that I don't want that to be the storyline, you know?
Right.
Because then you're creating this doubt of, a much larger, it's going to become a much larger issue of preventing us from seeing things outside of our own little sphere. Real quick, Dajanna, what do you think about the situation with the kidnapped Americans? And then we'll go to Miss Melissa. Dajanna, you muted, boo boo. You got unmute. Yeah, you got the
Okay,
floor.
about the dangers of traveling. Colombia is like always there in a sense. I
Yeah.
always tell a lot of people to not believe the hype. Things do happen, but if you're careless, like I don't want to say that you brought it upon yourself, but you have to be aware of situations and where you're going, the climate in that country at the moment. Colombia has a tendency to have a bunch of protests. So sometimes you have to, be aware of what's going on. Just yesterday, we had a Women's Day march. So that was great. A lot of women came out, but you also have to take into account the fact that a lot of Afro-Colombian women are excluded from this conversation. And that's what the conversation was about yesterday on social media. It was about how not to be anti-racist and how to include more Black women, Afro-Colombian women, into the talks of women's rights.
Yeah, and that's certainly something that we have to take into consideration as we look into more broad living in a global community. And I'm going to try to pivot over now. So again, I hate to use say thoughts and prayers, but honestly, those who are watching and those who will watch in the future, please pray for the families, because that's losing someone. I've lost people, a lot of people, and it never really goes away. It's a pain that just it stays around. So really, really send some prayers and thoughts their way. Going into something that I really is really deep to me as well is to talk about the nurturing and love of pregnant women. As again, we're in Women's Month. My sister Cherie, how we got in contact with Melissa is Cherie. I have a twin sister named Cherie, and she knew Melissa, or knows Melissa rather. And she said, "Yeah, she's a great doula and this and that." I'm like, "Doula? Let's talk more about that. Like, I want to know, because I didn't have a doula for my one and only daughter, and I think that's something that's not like really talked about in African American or African diaspora or African global African community. I think that they have certain names and terms. Dajanna was telling me that they have so doula is called something. We'll jump into that in a minute. And Tosin, I'm sure they have a different name for it as well. But Melissa, could you introduce your organization and tell us why it's important to have a doula as a part of maternity with African American sisters?
So we are Hands of Melody. We call ourselves Home, which is short for Hands of Melody. We are a doula agency that provides birth and postpartum doulas. It's not it's seen in our culture a lot of times as a rich person's like an extra person, like you being bougie, like you just
Mhm.
want somebody, whatever. And it's only seen that way because, again, money. We just talked about that. Like everything in our culture becomes about money, right? But when you go back to our ancestors, the original midwives and doulas were African American. These were women that were specifically trained and taught to be at the bedside to care for a woman bringing another human life into the world.
Mhm.
We're told that we can go have a baby and be back to work in 4 or 5 weeks, and just going about your life. But you can have shoulder surgery and they'll set you out of work for months and months and months. And so
Mhm.
it doesn't match, right? So a doula is the non-medical side. So you have your OBGYN, you have your midwife. They're the ones making sure you get medications, make sure baby comes out, make sure that your body is protected in the process. But your doula is there to make sure, one, that you are mentally protected, because your mental
Mhm.
space and mental health, birth is traumatic. Birth can be traumatic. The
Yes.
whether it's vaginal or whether it's C-section, people think, oh, you have a vaginal birth. It's no. Birth itself, the process of a human coming out from the itty bitty parts, or if they're taking them out via surgery, it still can be really traumatic. So your
Absolutely.
doula is there to teach you, one, about everything. The difference in trauma and non-trauma is sometimes knowing what to be prepared for. Somebody's making
Mhm.
choices, we're talking about it, and that's what doulas do on the front end. We educate you, we support you, and then we're there with you to help you kind of unpack it and walk through it. So that's what doulas do. That's what your basic doula does. Hands of Melody, we're a little bit different. They say it takes a village to raise a child. My theory is it takes a village to raise a
Come on.
family, because
Mhm.
when you support the family, the child is automatically taken care of. When you're not taking care of mom and dad, or mom and support person, or mom and grandmom, and mom and whoever is going to raise this child, that child will never be okay. I can be there to make sure they get wiped off and the cord cut and shots and all of that stuff, but when they go home, what is happening? And that, for a Black doula, I think that's what we're missing in our community, is that village mindset, that village support mentality. So that's what we specialize in. We specialize in making sure that the family is okay so that the baby can be okay.
Now, as a doula, first of all, what type of education do you have for that, and what type of experience, and what type? Like, tell me kind of that the what the doula background is. What should we expect? And then I want to pivot slightly. Hopefully, you remember all this. I
So,
just want to pivot slightly to resources, free and paid.
so really, the term doula means slave, right? That's where it
Mm,
originated from in the cultures.
I did
It
not
meant,
know that.
yes, it meant slave girl. It
Mm,
meant this is the person that when someone is in labor, you are serving them, completely serving. Like, you are there to make sure their head is wiped. You make sure they get something to do. You're basically taking care of this person's every need from the time they start labor till the time that they in labor. So that's where the terminology comes from.
did not know
As
that.
far as being a doula, whether you want to be a certified doula or a professional doula is one thing. That takes you going to take classes, going for certification classes. There are organizations out here like Dona, and you know birth care and different ones. We don't have one certified body. That's a whole different subject. We don't
Mhm,
have one certifying body, but a
mhm.
professional doula that wants to be a certified doula goes through some sort of educational training. For me, it took me 2 years to get my certification. It's a lot of studying, a lot of books, a lot of childbirth education classes, a lot of breastfeeding classes, so that I could support. I support a lot of survivors, so it was taking training in how to support someone that is a survivor of sexual abuse. How do you support them through the process? So my journey of education took 2 years. However, I've been doing this for 37. My first
Mhm,
birth I supported was at 16. So in the process, it was just me getting all the education. I'm going to college to learn about babies from birth to 5 years old, so that I could get a good rounded picture to teach your family what to look for from the time you're pregnant until your little person goes into elementary school. So it is, if you want to become certified, it can take up to 2 years for you to get certification. You do have like lab time like you would anything else. You have to be in the actual birth room and assisting people in birth. So that's kind of how you get started if you want to. But you could just go with every girlfriend you have and make sure that they have a safe delivery, that technically you're a doula.
Okay. And Melissa, let me ask you a question. What made you do this? Like, what's your core motivation behind being in this industry for over, you said 30 years, right?
Yeah, 37. It's 37 years this
37.
year.
Wow. What keeps you going? What's your motivation?
I was a 16-year-old mom in Baltimore City, in a church that shunned me. And so I had no support, right? But then I assisted my first birth, which happened to be my mom, because she was a single mom having my youngest brother. And I was there 7 months before my son was born. So I'm there. I'm making sure the nurses are like, what you doing with my brother? My mother needs this. I'm doing all the things that I didn't even know what to do. I didn't know, right? But I'm in there doing all of this stuff. And then 7 months later, I'm dropped off at a hospital. I'm in preterm labor, 32 weeks. My water has broken. Everybody thinks I'm being dramatic. And they literally left me at the hospital and did not come back until my son was born. So I had to go through at 16, being an unsupported pregnant person, not heard, not listened to. The people at the hospital didn't listen to me because I was a young Black girl that had no business being pregnant. My family didn't listen because how dare you get pregnant in the church? Like, oh my God. So I was literally by myself. So I made sure that from that moment on, nobody that I ever came in contact with birth by themselves if they didn't want to.
Okay. And a bigger part of this, and then I'm going to have Dajanna and Tosin jump in, is I sometimes feel like it's a stigma behind asking for support, especially in the Black community. I feel like when we ask for support or help, we're seen as less than, and I don't think that's very fair.
Well, that's because back they quick to say your ancestors will go out in the field and have a baby and come back and go to work the same day. But do you know how many babies died? Do you know how many mothers hemorrhaged? Do you know how many babies got stuck? Do you know the outcomes for us? Do you realize that at birth, it was no skin to skin? They were taking our babies from us, our baby boys especially, and our baby girls, depending on the color of their skin. Were you born in the house to be groomed, to be somebody's sex partner, then wet nurse, then whatever? Or were you being sent out because you were too dark and your hair was nappy and you were going to be sold off? So don't tell me about what our ancestors did, because our ancestors had a hard life. And when you know better, you do better. So now we know better. Let's do better.
Absolutely. Dajanna, I want you to jump in because I know Dajanna's on her way to pick up someone from the airport, but she still wanted to be a part of it, and I'm happy. Now we're in like the four square. But Dajanna, tell us first of all, in Colombia, what is a doula called? What do they do? And is it something that's highly regarded in Cali, Colombia?
So here, I've been talking to my Uber driver, and his last 3 pregnancies with his wife, they used a partera. That's what we call them here.
How do you?
Partera is spelled Partera, partera. It comes from the word parto, Parto. Parto means to go into labor. So that's where it comes from, partera, parto. And it's done in the indigenous communities and the indigenous Black communities of Colombia. In my case, my dad took my mom to a partera so that she could get me ready in my mom's womb so that she could have an easier labor, which she did. I came about 10 days earlier than I was programmed to come, and she pushed me out in 2 pushes. And that was it. She said I was a good baby and it was a good labor for her. And going back to the stigma of asking for help for Black women, I feel like my mother went through this at the hospital with her second pregnancy with my brother. Basically, she was like a case study for a doctor that had students come in and see her vital signs. She had taken the epidural. And then next thing you know, my brother lost oxygen and they had to take her into an emergency C-section.
Of course.
So I totally understand what Sister Melissa was saying about that, because she was like, my mom was like, why aren't they like really doing what they're supposed to do? So she started to ask questions. But then if you ask questions, it's like, it's okay, you're doing fine. But she wasn't doing fine. And it did affect my brother in a way to where he has a mild schizophrenia that has to be controlled. And my mother believes that it was from that loss of oxygen for a minute or two in the womb. And we feel like that's what happened. That's what caused his chemical imbalance.
So I'm going to share something with you guys too that I don't really, I'm an open book, but kind of the same thing happened to me. I wanted a natural birth with my one and only daughter. Her name is Aria. Beautiful little thing. But it was same thing kind of happened. I wanted a natural birth. Everything was set up as a natural birth. I wasn't moving fast enough for these European doctors, right? And so they're like, oh, let me give you some Pitocin. All right, Google Pitocin. All right, it's the worst. Now in retrospect, because I didn't have a doula. I didn't have someone holding my hand and saying, giving me some resources and understanding. They gave me Pitocin. And as soon as her pressure was good, they would monitor her. She was great before that. They gave me Pitocin. Boom. Her heart rate went up and everything dropped. I had to go have an emergency C-section. When I had it, her umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck. So kind of the same thing. She lost some oxygen. She had low sugar. It was like a 15. If you know anything about blood sugar, her blood sugar was a 15. That's like super low. She was purple pretty much. She lost a little oxygen. She's a little speech delayed, but she's coming along beautifully because I'm putting her in certain spaces where she can develop better. But yeah, like it's a real thing. And I was unprotected. I was unprotected because these doctors now want to rush along nature. Nature says no, it's this time, and then modern medicine like Pitocin said, nope, let's have this baby right now. And it puts a lot of stress on our body when our body is already in the mode of giving life and giving purpose to life. So it kind of, in so many words, it kind of sucks. But this is what's happening. This is the reason why I like to talk about maternity, because I think sometimes as African Americans or Africans in diaspora, we don't have a voice. We haven't had a voice of protection. So I also now want to talk to Pitocin.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah, of course.
So I think one of the things that I really want to do is change the narrative, right? So the narrative of natural birth, the process of getting a human being from your insides to the outside world is natural, right? Whether it's C-section, whether it is vaginal, whether it is medicated, whether it's unmedicated, having a baby is a natural thing. So when we realize that, I think it takes the stigma off of C-sections, because again, strong Black woman thing. I think I failed my body because I had to have a C-section, or my body failed me because it didn't do what it was supposed to do. For me, every child has an appointed time, an appointed place, and an appointed entry. You don't know. So you set your plans and your birth plans, and we make them cute and they colorful and all of the stuff. But in God's infinite wisdom, if that child was always coming by C-section, they were always coming by C-section. You just had to come to terms with it. So every birth is natural. We just talk about it, and it shouldn't be shoved on you. But so I just want to change that.
Absolutely. Thank you for inserting that too. Tosin, talk to us. So what's the name of doula in Yoruba, in Nigeria, and how is that handled within the community? There you go.
Okay, so in Yoruba, sorry about my Black background. Okay, so in Yoruba we call it agbebi.
Agbebi.
Yes, baby.
Baby.
Yes. So most times it's just like she has said. She said early birth that has to do with giving birth to any child. You said is natural, but we actually don't believe in the aspect where a woman will have to do the CS. So when things like that happen, we people are too spiritual in Nigeria, right? So now when that happens, so people that are Christian, we go to the pastor, tell the pastor that it seems as if it's a kind of death sentence. Like they are always scared when such thing happen. Is like it's 50-50, probably because of the
Mm,
medical condition, maybe because they think that most people who pass through that kind of situation, they don't come out live. It's either the mother or the child. So to some extent, people when they are told that they are going to have CS, they are scared. They pray. If they are not Christian, if they are Muslim, they go to the mosque. They inform their um
Immediately.
Afa, we call it Afa, yes. Tell him to pray. If they are traditional worshippers, they consult their oracles, pray, because they are always scared. People prefer to give birth naturally, like without the help of without operating them. So
mhm,
with that, we actually believe that yes, it's a very wonderful one because it's most times people don't like that aspect. And aside that, the money you have to pay when you're going through that kind of scenario. Yes, if you're going to go to the private hospital, it's going to cost you more. And at the end of the day, some doctors that are not competent enough might end up damaging one or two things, which is going to actually be painful for the woman. So it's always everyone's prayer, most women's prayer in Nigeria, that you don't go through the pain of giving birth to a child through CS. So we actually prefer to give birth to your child through a baby, or you just give birth to your child at home by yourself. So
wow, wow,
Wow.
that's it.
wow, wow, wow.
Wow.
Melissa, what do you got to say about that? Because that's that's
That's
heavy.
that's a heavy thing, right?
Mhm.
So
By
here
yourself.
here they push them like it's
Mhm.
almost like they lining you up on a runway.
Yep,
Next one,
yep.
because they don't allow a lot of bodies, birthing bodies, to start birthing before we want to jump in and like push. It sounds like
Mhm.
where in Tosin's culture, it is the woman's body absolutely is going to do what it's going to do when it's going to do it, and just in case, then
Mhm.
we resort to prayer, we resort to faith, we resort to
Mhm.
whatever we're going to do, and C-section is a last resort. I hate that it's like a 50-50 shot
Me
whether or not you're going
too.
to come out, but honey, it's here in the United States. For Black
Fat,
women, you are 53% more likely to die in childbirth in this modernized society
facts.
that we live in. When we got Boston University and we got Johns Hopkins and we got all of these big medical facilities, you are
Mhm.
still, because of the color of your
Your
skin,
skin.
53% more likely
Yes, it's
to
high.
not make it out alive or to lose your baby
Yep.
because you are disregarded. So it's sad that for
Mhm.
two different reasons, we are
Mhm.
still losing our lives or our babies for something that it should not be. Now, I can't speak to the medical standards where she is because I just cannot. I'm thankful that we
Right, right.
had the opportunity to serve Tosin with her little, but
Mhm.
the truth is doulas can't stop you from having a C-section in every case. Let's just throw that out there. Like sometimes C-sections are very necessary. Baby's coming out feet first, baby's heart rate is disappearing off the like there's just some things we cannot do. What we're
Mhm.
trying to do is slow that down and not have you put in a position where you have to have a C-section. Oh, you
Right.
40 years old? Oh, you got to have a C-section. Oh,
Right.
your blood
Mhm.
pressure was up today, not chronically, but it was up today. You got to have a C-section. Like we're trying
Right.
to take that off the table. And for me, don't tell me something hurt or something wrong after you had this baby and let me have a nurse walk out the room. I'm sorry, who I need to call? Because I need somebody to come in here and tend to you right now. And that's one of the biggest things that doulas do. We're not going to let everybody walk away and disregard you. We're going to make sure before it's too late that somebody is taking care of whatever need is happening right then.
Yeah, and as we celebrate Women's Month, I think a part of being in this specialized community of global African women, oftentimes, like, obviously it's a 50-50 now, and it doesn't matter the country, even here, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like we're discarded. We're not listened to. We're not helped. So if like, for example, I told you I personally didn't want Pitocin. I did not want Pitocin, but they like, oh, take it. And so I was pregnant. So I gave in. Right. But I felt like if I had someone supporting me, a doula, or someone just next to me, holding my hand, helping me make these large decisions, I think I would have been better informed. We're about to wrap up, but I wanted, I'm gonna put the light on you, SiSTAR, Melissa. Tell everybody about your weekly chat. Here we go. I'm gonna put you up there. Your weekly chat and how you're changing lives. Kind of the feedback that you have been getting. Obviously, my sister can attest to your success. But tell us about your website. I'll put it in chat as well. Okay. Everything. Tell us everything.
Okay. So if you want to reach out to us, you can reach us at hello@melodichands.com. You can also reach me personally at melissa@handsofmelody.com. We currently offer a bi-weekly chat for our pregnant moms. Or pregnant, or if you have a child, we used to say 2 years, but we got 3 and 4 year, like we got everybody. So if you are pregnant, trying to conceive and get pregnant in the 4th trimester, which is like, people talk about the 3 trimesters of being pregnant. Well, there's a 4th trimester that happens right after that baby comes out. If you are a mom at all, we are in a Zoom chat. Matter of fact, they're watching right now. Hi, ladies, from 12 to 2. Every Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12 to 2. We are in here talking about everything and nothing. We talking about babies. We talking about life stresses. We talking about COVID. We talking about jobs. It's to support you. It's a safe space for you to come in the room and say, I don't like nobody today. Okay, I'm better tomorrow. But you got to be able to say that and get that off. So we do that Tuesdays and Thursdays, noon to 2. Every other Thursday, our dads meet. They meet from 7 to 8, about 8:30 every other Thursday. And they talk about the things that affect men and how family life and babies and pregnancy and postpartum affect them. Because again, our motto is, if we affect the family, the baby is okay. So if you are trying to conceive, if you are pregnant, if you have just had a baby, your baby is not in school yet, school age, not daycare, but school age, and you want support, we do service. I'm not even going to say what we service anymore because we've got new doulas. We are all the way in Atlanta now. I'm in the DMV area, but we have doulas in Atlanta. We have doulas in North Carolina. I don't care where you are. If you need a doula, if you reach out to me, I have enough connections to get you a doula where you are.
Sister Melissa, what I want to happen, and hopefully we can make this happen. I want you to come to Zanzibar, and I'll be there for 6 months, inshallah. And I want you to come to Zanzibar and just speak on it. Housing is free. You can ask my sister. I have 2 houses on my compound. I want you to come and I want you to talk, because it's so important to get the right messaging out. Yes. Right. Yes. I know for a fact I felt alone in my pregnancy, and it's not like people, like my family wasn't there to support me. They just couldn't. They weren't trained enough, right? And I didn't think to do that,
Yeah. And it's not. And you asked about it quickly before we wrap up. You can there are programs out here that we can give you.
Yeah, free resources.
You can't afford a doula.
Yeah.
There are programs, there are grant processes out here. There are links that I can give you to try to get a doula. If you just need a doula and you just absolutely cannot afford one, talk to me. There's resources. There just like anything else. There's everybody can have a doula if they want a doula. call your doula. That call me. We're gonna be there. She's gonna put all of my information out. Please feel free to reach out.
Excellent. And Tosin, Dajanna, do you guys have any questions for Melissa, or you have something on your I know Dajanna, you do. You always got something to say, and I live for your for your remarks, Dajanna. But Dajanna, anything to say? Tosin, anything to say?
I just want to thank Melissa for what she's doing in the world. You're an inspiration for all of us. I would actually love to do something like this as well, just to give back and give support to our women. I'm a Virgo. We're naturally servers. We like to help people. So I feel like this is something that I would be really good at.
Well, come on over. We'll work it out. We'll work it out. Love to have you.
Tosin?
Yeah, I just want to say it's nice to have you on show tonight. This moment, we love you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Good
we do
seeing you
love
again.
you. And then you got a lot of people in the chat. Angie is saying hi from home, which is hands of melody. Queen's girl said best doula company hands down.
Thank you.
Smiley faces. We have breaking the chains, repatriation journey. Hello, lots of hearts, and some other chats. So we really appreciate everything that you've given to us and blessed us with today in today's chat about doulas. Again, we're celebrating Women's Month as a part of SiSTAR Chat, weekly chat. We hope you guys can tune in next week. It'll be episode 3. And for that episode, we're working on homeschooling. So that'll be interesting as people are moving global and they want to come off the public school plantation, like I like to call it. That's the whole thing. We're going to get into that juicy subject next week as we talk about homeschooling and raising the international global African kid. So thank you so much, SiSTAR Melissa. Thank you, Dajanna, all our special guests and our co-host, Dajanna, Tosin. Thank you all out there in YouTube land for joining us again. Thank you, Matoni. I see you in the chat. Asante Sana. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you next week, same time, same Batcave. Thank you, sisters.
Bye.